Hello, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to the show On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. Now, the people of Uganda have given a mandate to a new government that will be sworn in May this year. President Yoweri Museveni got a resounding victory of over 70%. And so, there are new members of parliament and there are other local government leaders that will be taking their offices. But the issue of service delivery is very key. The people of Uganda, I suppose, will be looking for that person, that leader who is rooting for them, who cares for them, who can deliver. But also, many have been talking about reforms. So tonight we look into all those issues, and my guests will include, I have the newly elected Igara West Member of Parliament, the Honorable Cohen Champene. I also have a political analyst, Elisha Simba, and the Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance, the Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga. Let me once again introduce my panel this evening. I have a political analyst, Elisha Simba. Thank you for joining us, Elisha.
Welcome.
I have the Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, State Minister for National Guidance and ICT. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Kabyanga.
Good evening, viewers, and thank you for hosting us.
And also with us, we have the MP-elect for Igara West, the Honorable Cohen Champene. Welcome for joining us.
Thank you, the viewers and everyone.
Let me begin from my far left and with you, Honorable Champene Cohen from Igara West. First of all, congratulations for having won an election, and for every member of parliament who can make it into that house. It's considering what you go through, especially from the primaries and the general election. It's such a very huge undertaking, a logistical nightmare. You need also sometimes a financial war chest for you to be able to go through. So when you make it, then we can say, yes, you have made it, and so congratulations.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I'm very happy to be where I am. It's a good thing to be where I am, because in terms of the political life of everyone, and everyone's dream is to win an election. Because if you lose an election, it has its own ramification, it has its own deeds, it comes with a lot of things. But also when you win, it comes with a lot of things. That means the people have given you the trust to lead them and to be a leader at all levels, nationally, the local level, and everyone. You come from a legal background, I suppose, and yes, I'm told you've been, oscillating between Kampala, Nairobi, and Igara. Yes.
How do you do that?
I have been a lawyer for some time, and I have practiced law in the Republic of Kenya. I'm an advocate. I'm a lawyer in both countries. But home, East-West home is best. And when you see the political inclination of this country, the youth, how politics are supposed to be done, I think it is high time that we take that mantle to make sure that we change, especially us in the constituencies. Where you see a gap, then let's fill it. And that's why I came to Igara West to make sure that I create a change they needed. And I think the people saw, and they're like, this is the person we need. Okay,
I can imagine the things affecting the people of Igara are not Igara-centric. They are Ugandan issues. If anything, they are African issues. So, and in some cases, as a legislator, you need to make laws and make some reforms. When you look at Igara and look at Uganda, what are these, issues that stand out in terms of service delivery? Do you think, if you're going to lead, this is what you should tackle as a house that is making laws, but also as a leader in Igara?
One of the key areas that we really need to work on is the health sector. That's number one. Secondly, also, I am a firm believer of systems. And when I look at the road network in Uganda, the way they are, there are many policies that are not there, especially like when you look at the tea sector. We have many roads that needs to be done.
You've talked so many things. You're talking about the health sector. So what is it in the health sector that you want to fix? Is it the doctors? Is it the drugs? Is it the corruption in there? Or is it the lack of what?
Kamara, I want to say this. When you go to the health sector, and I will use this yardstick, I will use Kenya and Uganda. Most people are running away from Uganda to Kenya to look for services in terms of the medical. Not that we don't have hospitals. So we really need to work on one, the pay for the doctors, the drugs, and also tackle what we call the problem, one animal in the whole of Uganda called corruption. It is not that the government does not provide medicine. The government does its part. But as to whether that medicine will reach a common person or the last man, it's an issue or it's a debate for another day. And that's why, for me, I'm saying that can we relook into the health sector? If we are talking about medicine in hospitals, if we are talking about machines in the hospitals, we have referral hospitals. They are supposed to work. We have people who are supposed to work. And these people have started their own pharmacies. They have started their own health centers. Instead of us focusing on this big infrastructure called a level 4 hospital, you find that referrals are being done. Instead of it being done into the referral hospitals, are being done into the health centers.
Okay, let me come to Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga here, because for you, where you sit in a very serious office, because you speak for government, but you are also an NRM person. Both of you are NRM. So when you see the young Turk of the NRM, I can imagine as a young Turk coming in as a new blood, but he's looking at actually the failures within the system. You know, he's one of you, but he's able to tell you, know what, you have failed. Number 7 of the 10-point program of President Yoweri Museveni when he came was fighting corruption. 40 years down the road, even the young people joining the party are saying, you know what, you have failed. It's a big animal.
I think we're also in but Kamara is also in so yes. But Patrick,
can you leave me in my neutral ground so that I can be able to do this work fairly?
Okay, I withdraw. However, I think what he's saying is not saying we are failed, but he's saying we have gaps here and there. And since he has come to Parliament, he's now coming to assist us to bridge that gap, to fill those gaps. And indeed, our health sector needs a lot of improvement. And as a member of Parliament, I hope now he can go and probably assure more money is appropriated to the health sector. And what he has observed is correct. And as a member of Parliament, I think now that he has identified the gap of corruption,
it's not an issue. It's not an issue of ineffective appropriation. I don't think that's what he said. The money is there, but there's a hemorrhage of public resources because of the integrity deficit in the system.
In fact, Kamara, the system is working. The only problem that we're having is tackling an issue called corruption. Corruption starts between, it is me and you, because when you go to the hospital and you look at the medicine, you are told the medicine in the hospital is, let's say, 100 bob, 100,000, but in the clinic around the hospital is 50,000, and you go buy it at 50,000. You are part of the problem. It is not the government. When we talk about, for example, and this is about, I was talking with my friend about democracy. If we are to look at democracy, if we are to look at human rights, for example, if we are to look at the way we come here, criticize the government, even the right to criticize the government is part and parcel of the mandate, what the government is doing. There was a time, Kamara, if you remember, that you will not talk about the government. You will not leave that you are talking about that the government has failed to do this, and you live here. Otherwise, you would be hijacked and killed. So as part of the transition and part of what the government is doing, we need to appreciate where we are coming from. Where are we coming from? 1962, look at what was happening. 1972 to 79, during Idi Amin's time, look at what was happening. The killings that happened. From 1979, let's come to Bote II. From now, the route was the President Museveni. Now, when we come to 1986, what we call the transition government. From 1986, there was what we call 1986 to 1994 specifically.
But you know, Cohen, please, you cannot keep telling Ugandans that we are better than Amini, you are better than Obote 1, you are better than Obote 2. You've been around for more than 40 years. People like Simba here, perhaps they don't know even any other government. They are inclined to judge and assess the NRM government because for the last 40 years, majority of Ugandans are born here. So the issues, yes, we have made some progress. Yes, we have moved. But they would be asking, where do we ought to be? Let me ask Simba here. Okay, we have made some progress. But is this where we ought to be?
Thank you, Kamara. I think I also, before I answer that question, I really need to be grateful to my president, the principal, Honorable Mabirizi, who sent me to step in for him.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't want to.
So I thought I was going to have. When you you're the Mabirizi part guy.
Yes. His man. And
you're the 2IC.
Exactly.
The second in command.
we actually thank God we didn't go through because the Ugandans have not yet trusted us. That's why we did not appeal the results to go to court. But the issue of service delivery, where do we need to be? In fact, Kamara, we as a country have trailed the wrong path for a very long time. What do I call the wrong path? People have, especially in this government, they have emphasized the issue of service delivery. Service delivery, we came in 1986, we did not have roads, the roads were this, and now we have this. We did not have hospitals, now we have this, we did not have schools. It's not about that, because that is very difficult. That's what I call ideological disorientation. The right thing to gauge ourselves about where we need to be are what he has called the yardstick. But I'll call them the catalog. There should be indicators of either development or governance against which we are checking to see whether we have attained them. And this is where we get it wrong, where the government gets it wrong. They are sticking on service delivery, hospitals, roads, but the indicators of democracy, which I call the tenets or principles, in fact, the key factors which should be looked at or judged, have been ignored. What are these? When we talk about democracy or rule of law, better governance, we don't mean only social services. No, that is completely misfiring. We mean democracy. And what is democracy? I hear NRM people saying democracy is all about numbers. That's why he's proud that he won elections. It's not about just winning elections. Democracy, just like religion, has 5 tenets. The number one first is not even rule of law. It is what we call consent. The consent of the people. Do they consent to be governed? That's the first tenet of democracy. So you check that. The second one is rule of law. Are you guiding the people? Are you ruling them according to the law? Are you following the law? The third one is free and fair elections. That's what we need to look at. Are we having free and fair elections? Even as you won, did you win fairly? Is it a free and fair process? Are you getting me? The fourth, they are like that. The fourth, you can talk of rule of law, free and fair elections. You can talk of minority rights. Because there is majority rule as the fifth, but there is also minority rights protection. Even as you rule, the majority rule, so but there should be minority rights.
Is it your
protected.
considered opinion, Mr.
Yes.
Simba, that
Yes.
at one point,
yes,
probably we had moved on the right direction,
exactly.
and now we are getting democratic reversals?
Well, completely, we are missing it because we are saying we are just judging ourselves on the issues of social services. We had 5 hospitals, now we have 20. We had no roads, now we have this. Anybody can do that. But the system under which you are providing these services matters.
Okay, I think
That's the problem.
Let me come back to you, Cohen, because he has used in the initial submission about we are no longer on the correct path.
Yes.
In fact, there are Bush war heroes who came with General Yoweri Museveni, and they wrote books, including there's a book called Betrayed by My Leader, by a gentleman you could have known from the Greater Busheng area, who was a Bush war hero. And another person from Rukunjiri wrote a book, Are We Still on the Correct Path? So, and these are the words Simba is talking about. Even though he was not in the bush with you, they have been able to see that, yes, we fought for these democratic ideals. Yes, we moved on this direction. But at one moment he said, no, we have been betrayed by my leader.
Patrick, I just want to ask a question, and which I will answer. When we talk about issues dealing with democracy, when we talk about issues to do with human rights, when we talk about with the rule of law, at the center of it, it is with the people. And that's why under Article 1 of the Constitution, the supremacy of the Constitution lies with the people. So for someone to say that we're no longer on the trajectory, because we have just concluded an election where the majority voted for His Excellency the President.
You know, Simba is poking holes in the system.
Yes.
How fair is it?
You see,
how is it fair? Yes, you could have won.
Yes.
But when we go back into Higara West, how did you win?
You see, Patrick, what I want to tell you is the Constitution uses the word free and fair. For something to be fair, it is not 100% correct. That's why it is free and fair. And when you look at the judgments that have come from court, look at 2001. The Supreme Court said, yes, there were inconsistencies somewhere. However, the substantiality opinion is of the view that it does not yield. And that's why there is majority and minority. And that's why I'm saying that, yes, in every country, including Uganda, there can be, we can say, yes, there are human rights violations. Even as we speak right now, there is a violation that is happening in those world countries. Look at what is happening in Iran. Look at what is happening all over the world. In Uganda, our own constitution allows for anyone to challenge the petition. Go to Tanzania. Tanzania does not allow. Once the Election Commission has declared the results, they are final. You go to Kenya, they are using the what we call electronic voting. In Uganda, we are still trying the electronic voting. The other day we tried, and people, we need to accept that the democracy, the definition of democracy, it is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So we the people, there can never be, there is minority and majority. The majority win is what takes the day, even in Parliament.
Honorable Kabyanga, you know, I like the way how you bring in that old kind of definition of democracy, but you know, it doesn't cut it, because you know why? Because people, what they want is, are they working in a free and fair manner? Is the ground leveled? Is the money being used? Are there malpractices? If we ask all those questions, everybody will be saying yes. Because in your own primaries of the NRM that later won the election, you saw people died. People were injured. Vehicles were burnt in Isingiro. Somebody died in Rwemiyaga. And this is just within the in-house NRM party contestation for power. If people can die in inter-party political, contestation, what happens when you go into the general election? Honorable Kabyanga, you know that even though somebody petitioned and later withdrew the case, there have been so many complaints, including people who were arrested, and then it took forever for them to know where they were. The families could not access them. He's a lawyer, you could not access them. And then it was a very traumatizing event. And these are ladies, by the way. I'm talking about Lena Zadriga, for example, Vice President of NUP in Western Nile and Northern Uganda. And another person from Rukunjiri, another Vice President, female leaders, taken out with no trace. For quite some time, they had just radio silence. I mean, and then you call that democracy?
You know, Uganda's governance system is established and is anchored on the principles established by our constitution. And there are several institutions which have been put in place. The judiciary is there, parliament is there, the electoral commission is there. And therefore, whatever is happening is organized within our constitutional framework. So, every election is organized by an established institution, and there is a law governing those elections. The electoral law is there, and that doesn't mean the elections will be 100%, will be excellent. I think that's why they use the word free and fair. Otherwise, they would have used free and excellent. And let me tell you, Patrick, even the Maviri's team, and I'm happy that he said his president was not able to be there, and he said that people, they didn't convince people enough to vote for them, which implies at least they went to the field to convince what? People, and they didn't convince enough to vote for them. So Kamara, I don't know exactly what they call level ground, but I'm telling you, always in any election, whether it is in the advanced world, whether it is in the third world, every person who is not in government will say the ground is not what? Level. Because a candidate who is an incumbent or who is from a party that is in government might have added what? Advantage.
But if you can pause there.
Yes.
I've asked this question somebody else. I'm going to ask again to you. Because the principal, the president of the Republic of Uganda, is on record having said that the system he put in place, the Electoral Commission, when they organized a previous election, he lost 2 million votes were stolen from him. I mean, he cannot be complaining like the rest of us, like Cohen and Simba. He's the head of state. The institutions of government are supposed to work, to investigate and prosecute, and somebody should answer for that. But when you have a head of state who's saying, you know, they stole my votes, now he's complaining like Cohen. No, but we expect him to do more.
No, that's why I'm telling you, Patrick.
He cannot complain.
That's why I'm telling you, Patrick, that at any one time, all competitors will complain about the ground not being level.
I understand.
Yes.
But for our president, because he's been given the mandate to lead, now he's complaining to who?
No, he's complaining to the Electoral Commission. Is he the one who organizes the elections? So, I mean, he's also competing.
Patrick, what we call, and I think the perspective.
No. There is an independent body which is organizing an election, and which election is participating in.
This independent body is appointed by the president and also and parliament confirms.
With the approval of parliament. Yes.
If 2 million votes have been stolen from the president as a candidate, really, we expected him not to look there and keep quiet and complain like the rest. Him as the vanguard of excellence will move. Somebody will prosecute that case. A case will go to court. And whoever loses, they will pay according to the laws of the country.
Maybe, Patrick, can I say something? The president said that he lost 2 million votes. You see, independency of institutions comes in. And that's why, for me, for the president to say that and he doesn't interfere, that shows me that he respects institutions. Because otherwise, he had, as you could rightly say, he had the mandate to go and steer Electoral Commission. I want these people prosecuted. DPP, prosecute these people. The police inspector general, You know, investigators, do your part. The IGG, you find the whole bandwagon.
Let me bring it to Mr. Simba. If you have been, if you have been cheated, you are in the contestation of a power. What are you supposed to do?
It is, thank you. It is important to understand the circumstances. Me, I'm a Msoga. And my mother told me that if you see a thief, if the thief is very strong, is stronger than you, and is stealing something which is not yours, don't shout and say, oh, the thief has stolen something, because he may begin with you. Are you getting me? Instead, if you want to...
So what is the hidden knowledge there?
Hidden knowledge there.
Yes.
We chose not to go to court, even if we... Because not that we were stolen, but that the conditions, the circumstances which we are prevailing. In fact, that's why we went to court before, if you can remember. We went to court to try to secure an injunction to stop the elections from taking place, because we thought... And by the way, we are going back to court because the mission is not yet over. We thought that the conditions under which this election was being carried out were not credible, not free and fair. Much as they are saying, you know, it was free, everybody was... But the word freedom, I don't know whether you understand, a free election, which is not free. This one was not free in the sense that people, it is so expensive. People used a lot of money. That's not free.
To be with all respect,
yes,
Simba,
yes.
With your presidential candidate, Mr. Mabirizi,
yes.
Were you in it to win it?
Yes, no, not really to win.
Yes,
but
so
what is important?
What do I do?
Listen, as I told you about democracy, I don't want people to be short-sighted and vague. When we are looking at things, democracy looks at majority rule and minority rights protection. Even the government has an obligation to protect our rights as the minority. CP is a minority party, but it has stayed here for a long time because we are looking at our interests and our rights. That is federalism. They talk about federalism, even they talk about the East African Federation. But they don't want to promote federalism here in Uganda. That's why we keep wondering, what are they going to do in the East African legislature? Because they don't want to promote federalism. So for us, we are federal people. We are talking about federalism, and that is our ideology.
So in this election, Mr. Mabirizi was in it
exactly
with a
preserve
mission.
Not really. That's one of the issues.
Not necessarily to win.
That's one of the issues. The other issue which was there was that we wanted to cut down the percentage so that Mr. President, the incumbent, fails to secure the 50% plus one vote, which was our mission. In coming in, we would probably get 5 or 10, and then another candidate pulls, and then eventually it would fail to secure the 50%, because the article says 50% plus one vote to declare the winner. So that it would force another round.
So you go to convince the people of Uganda that, I mean, this mission to deny President Museveni 50 plus one.
That is part of the problem.
People want what you can do for them, not necessarily Museveni again.
That's where they get it wrong. We went there to convince them, and they were not convinced. Actually, they are not yet convinced. They are not as yet convinced. But we are still on the mission because probably they did not understand my candidate very well and the objective, because the Ugandans, you know, under the circumstances, they don't know that federalism is about sharing power, responsibility, and resources, not just sending everything, the taxes, the resources, to the central government.
Okay.
Between the central government.
Well, the good thing is that you concede.
People
are not convinced.
Exactly. We concede, and that's why we did not go. That's why we did not go.
And that's democracy.
Exactly.
You see, on the issue of the integrity of the system, the issue of corruption and electoral malpractice is very serious. Because when the chief executive of the country says there is a problem, and it's not a small problem, a big one. Yes, we have heard you, Mr. President. Yes, you are our president. But you're saying there's a problem and you have not moved to do something. For us, we do what?
Patrick, thank you for that analysis. And I will juxtapose using it in this angle. Mariam Abirizi candidature, as he has rightly said, it was all about federal. Is it anywhere anchored in our constitution?
Yes.
No, you know, I mean, it's not saying yes, and to the contrary, when you look at all the constitutions that we had, and that's why Ugandans voted to remove certain provisions in the constitution in 1996.
Article 178.
So the whole thing that you have just said about institutions and the executive person of the office of the president himself complaining. For me, I'm looking at this. The president is doing, raising a red flag. What is the role in a government setup? What is the role of opposition? And as he's saying...
No, okay, on the issue, he is raising a red flag, and then the opposition should do what?
Yes, now, the purpose and why there are, in a country there is a role of the opposition is to critique the government on certain things. Me, I want the Mariam Abirizi...
Go ahead, I think you're getting it wrong. Because the chief executive of the country has seen a problem. He himself has seen it. He has talked about it. And that's so what do you expect from the opposition to do?
And you see what I want to use? I just want to use two scenarios, and then I answer your question. The opposition we have in the country is supposed to put the government into checks and balances. That's number one. That is the role of opposition, very anchored in the law. The opposition has to come with vital changes within the constitution. Within
you are an officer of court.
Yes,
a crime has been committed.
Yes.
And a crime has been reported.
And now,
by the
now, that's what I'm saying.
Why are you going to the opposition? We expect you to move.
Kamara. You see, Kamara, what the president stated,
yes,
that there was a problem with the Electoral Commission, that they stole his votes. And the president did not go further to direct, because the president has the mandate.
Yes.
He can direct and say, look, who stole these votes? It was NUP. So he would have gone into the politics of opposition saying, okay, you guys stole my votes. You guys brought in fake forms to be screened, and that's why we are going into the era of the digital. So if he never did that, and yet he had the mandate, should we go to the president a bad person? The answer is no. The president highlighted the problem, an institutional problem, to be resolved by the same institution. And that's why the Electoral Commission came up with that now this time we use during the elections, we use what we call, we move away from manual into digital. Yes, as all the countries that have held elections using digital have issues, we saw that same thing happened. But thereafter, in the elections that followed, the ones of councillors, mayors, and all that, we used the same machines. So Uganda is not at where we are at the take-off stage in terms of our political rights, our electoral processes. The only challenge that we have to give is a benefit of doubt. The Electoral Commission, that it has to conduct an election using the digital platform. We need to be fair. We need to be free and fair, the elections. We have seen there are no complaints. In fact, the opposition is more happier that the election conducted. When you look at the MPs that were voted in, you ask him, how are the elections? He will say, when it comes to his elections, as a member of parliament from the opposition, he will say, the elections were free and fair. When you ask him about the presidential, it's where he draws the line and says that, oh, we were rigged. But when it comes to him, we were never rigged. So we can't be preaching milk on the other hand, and we're taking other things. We have to own the system. And as Ugandans, let us come out and show that, yes, in the electoral process, an election is a process. It's not a one-day event. It starts from somewhere, it ends from somewhere. Let us not look at the end product. Ugandans, we always look at the end product of an election, which are results. So can we take part on all of these processes such that we have a robust electoral process from day one until the results are announced. But we come at the tail end, we want to complain to the government. Us as people, we are part of the government. Even you, Kamara, you are the government. Because you can come here, air out your views, and they will be taken in.
So, Honorable Kabyanga, you were...
Yeah, what I'm saying, when the president complained, he also put measures.
Okay.
One was to clean up the register, because one of the problems he identified was the issue of multiple registration of people, multiple voting of people, mainly in this Buganda region. And what he did was, first of all, cleaning up the what? The register. And then later, he had to devise means. That's why we came up with the electronic verification.
The BVK, which never worked.
The BVK. Unfortunately, it didn't work. But at least the register had been what? Had been cleaned up. Then another measure which he put in place was to clean up the polling officials.
Yes.
Because some of the polling officials were involved in that multiple what? Voting. So polling officials at district level, parish, polling stations, they were really cleaned up. And also some of them were well trained. And this BVK machine, if it had worked, I think the elections would have even been different, because there wouldn't have been any leakage, because verification was supposed to be electronically. And when it comes now to LOC5 and the other local government elections, you see what happened. It was really very tight. It was very clean election. So the president didn't only complain, but he put their measures to see how the elections would be better. And I think that's why this time he even won with a very big range. Because 71%. And I think it is just second to 1996. Okay. Because really there were no loopholes, many loopholes of cheating what? Elections. Right. So you cannot just say that he just complained, and for you I think you thought he should complain and sack the whole electoral commission. That's not how our president works. He looks at the problem and looks at the solution, and then he sees how to work with the institutions of government and come up with some mitigation measures.
Honorable Kabyanga, Honorable Champagne, and Mr. Simba. Gentlemen, we're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Back, you're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara, and my guests include Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, Mr. Honorable Elect for Igara West, Member of Parliament. We have Mr. Champagne Cohen and Mr. Simba representing Mr. Mabirizi of the Conservative Party. Allow me, in this segment, we look into what is going in the geopolitics and how they are going to affect Uganda. We have a war raging on in the Middle East. And I want to commend the government of Uganda for having tried to help the Ugandan students who are trapped in Tehran, and to take that long journey must have been very risky, from Tehran to Istanbul and then to fly them to Uganda.
Thank you.
So, well, at least when you feel that your government cares for you amidst that kind of chaos and the bombs are falling and Ugandans are being rescued, we can only say thank you to whoever was carrying that mission.
Our pleasure.
To the government.
Yeah, to the government who was involved. Because, and I remember also that when there was chaos in Sudan, Ugandans were evacuated from Khartoum through Gonda in Ethiopia and back. So I think that's very commendable. But I'm sure there are very many other Ugandans who are in Tehran. What is the plan for them?
I think we started with those ones who were
we are showing the young people who are coming on the screen, those who are coming back.
Oh yes, they arrived today. Home. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We started with those who were in immediate danger, because Tehran was the first town to be bombarded. And immediately our Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our embassy moved very fast to assure those students who were in Tehran are evacuated.
I can tell you that when I see those young people with their bags at the airport arriving, that's when I feel to be proud to be Ugandan, that there is a government that cared. When help needed, help was on the way, and they're back home.
You should always feel proud to be Ugandan.
There's an example now, Godfrey, that I can see that when help was needed, help was sent to Tehran, and those the Mwesigis and the Okellos and the Namukasas are back to Kampala.
There are many more examples, but this is just one of them. But I also thank you for appreciating government. But that's the role of government, to be sincere. And that's the role of our embassies, wherever they are, to ensure our people are secure. And for those ones who are still there, we shall handle each situation case by case. When there is any town which comes under threat, we shall ensure our people are evacuated. And I strongly believe Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our embassy there, our embassies in most of the Middle East countries, because now bombardments are everywhere nearly in the Middle East. We have in Dubai has some places have been attacked, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar. So we are on standby, class 1, to ensure if there are any Ugandans who are under any threat, are really evacuated and they reach here safely.
But you know, I know you mean well, and the intention is good, and you have given us an example. Some of Ugandans are back home. But you almost have like 1 million Ugandans in the Middle East, in Bahrain, in Qatar, in all these places. And some of them, actually, the embassy does not even know them. And how would you deal with them? And on top of that, when their work is disrupted, the remittances they bring to this country is one of the biggest avenue of foreign exchange that we get from them.
Yeah, just as I've told you, not all towns or all regions in those countries are affected, but there are those areas which are most affected. And those ones who go through recognized labor companies, they are known, because mainly those labor companies work hand in hand with our embassies in those countries. But there are those, just as you have said, they go there on their own, and those ones may not be known. But we have also sent notices. Ministry of Foreign Affairs is sending notices everywhere in those countries that whoever is there should register with the embassy, so that we know where you are, the town where you are, and then the situation will be assessed case by case. All of them will not be evacuated, because not everybody is under threat. There are some places which are still safe, and we pray that there are some negotiations so that there is some ceasefire, because just as you have said, they really went there to work, and they still want to work. And there are a lot of remittances coming from there. So we are really going to assess this situation, and we shall handle the situation case by case.
You know, Cohen, I can imagine quite a number of Ugandans, especially in downtown, and downtown, that's where the economy is, are always flying to Turkey, Istanbul. They are going to Doha, they are going to Dubai to do business. And I can imagine the people who are in transit, they must be undergoing some kind of really very stressful moment.
Thank you, Kamara. The fights or the war that is in Iran will affect automatically us Ugandans. Now, when you look at the people who, there is what we call trade. There is what we call direct trade and indirect trade. Direct trade is where we're trading directly. We go there and we do things and all that. But we have a lot of young people who go to Turkey to do shoppings United Arab Emirates, and all that. They have not gone because of the fear. That's number one. We are supposed to look at import versus export. What do we export? What do we get and what do we take there? In these countries, for example, Pakistan, for example, United Arab Emirates, or that corridor, they were a big suppliers in terms of tea. When you look at
They were buying
meat,
tea.
yeah, they were buying tea. They were buying meat. I remember one time there was a client of mine who wanted 40,000 tons of meat per week. I could not get them in Uganda. So that means half of our meat produce goes to those areas. Now when there is war, there is nowhere. Our market is down. As Ugandans, we need to play for peace. Because I remember, Kamara, as you are saying something, that you feel so proud to be Ugandan when you see Ugandans coming back. But feel proud of being a Ugandan, that you can move from this television and reach home.
But why do you keep saying something like that?
Why I'm saying
what
that?
is your intention?
No, why I'm saying that? I mean,
The Swahili have a saying, "Where you gonna pam?"
no, hakuna mpango. Mpango ni. Why I'm saying that is very simple, Patrick. Why I'm saying that is very simple. We have seen countries that have gone into war. The peace that this government has provided to us, we should feel proud of it. Because you can wake up, eat, sleep, do your things, walk. Sudan. When you go to Sudan and you look at it, it is in shambles. Look at what is happening in a country we knew that the Ayatollah is what? He's indomitable. He's unattachable. Look at what is happening. In retaliation, look at what happened last night in Israel.
You see all those countries you're talking about, whether it is Sudan or Libya or,
Yes.
or Iran, you know, there is the semblance of peace, 30 years or 40 years, but just in one day, it shows that because of lack of systems.
And that's
because of lack of systems, just in one day.
And you see,
and then chaos,
And you see,
then there's
Patrick,
anarchy. So are we immune from that? Are we immune from that?
No, yes. I mean, you can't compare Uganda with these other countries. We have the president has put systems. Systems are working. I think what we really need to look at is, with these wars, with the economy.
When I remember the 2009 Buganda riots, and I remember the 2020.
And the Umfaras and Umfaras when they were asking.
Yeah, well, when I remember, I could see a country that can actually degenerate,
Yes.
go back into chaos within 2 days. We almost, there was total anarchy in one day on the streets of Kampala in 2009. In 2020, the same thing happened. So, God forbid, one could say maybe we are not as what, we're not as safe.
And that's why I'm saying, Patrick, that the country called Uganda, we as Ugandans, we need it protecting and guard it jealously.
Okay.
Because as you have said, we might not agree on the president being in power for all those years. We might not agree on certain things, but there's one thing that we need to agree on. It's about peace. And that's why I keep on saying that the issue about Iran, Iraq, Arabia, all of it, look at the oil sector. Do you think that the oil sector will be saved? Because at the end of the day, we might go back to a scenario where a liter of oil would be at 20,000.
So let me, now that you're bringing the issue of oil, Honorable Kabyanga, since you speak for government, are we safe on that route now that the Strait of Hormuz, which is responsible, I'm told, for about 20% of global oil and gas business, if we're unable, if the ship are unable to bring in oil, how are we going to survive as Uganda?
Patrick, first of all, this war will disrupt a lot of supply chain, the supply chain of so many products, not only oil, but as a country so far, our quota for our need for March was already evacuated. So we are sure that we have
We're going to have oil for the next 2 weeks.
for the next 2 weeks. But we still also had a reserve for 10 days. If the situation continues like this...
Doesn't that look like hand-to-mouth kind of business?
No, it's not hand-to-mouth.
Talk about reserve for 10 days.
Obviously, we always have reserve for 10 days, all the time. It is always there. And our supply for March was already evacuated. But if the situation becomes worse, then we shall go to other alternatives, far southeast. And obviously the Strait of Hormuz is now under threat. So we shall be forced to look for an alternative. Because I think
so
now...
your other colleagues in government, do you have it that they are actually looking for alternatives?
Yes.
Is the fuel coming in from different directions as we speak?
The Minister of Energy is working on that. Immediately after the first bomb was sent, she started working on alternative routes, because we knew that the Middle East, we suspected the Middle East would be in turmoil, the whole of the Middle East. So we are trying, but I would also like to say it's not only Uganda that will be affected.
That's true.
It is a global issue that will be. It's now a global issue.
So, Mr. Simba, what is happening in Iran is not our war, obviously, but it is impacting us. How can we mitigate ourselves from not getting into the trouble? It is their problem, but we are taking we're feeling it here. We will feel it here.
It's not their problem incidentally alone, because we are living in a global village. And it also affects us because there are very many people like you saw, and I'm grateful to the government for those who have been returned safely. That's a very good act of responsibility for leadership. So the president and those in government, we are really very grateful for what they are doing. But why do we reach there? Well, how do we reach there? That, we have a scenario where our girls are going. One of them was recently killed. I'm still thinking in my heart that...
But these ones are at the university. They're studying with...
Yes,
some of them had scholarships in some of the top universities in Iran.
But, somebody said, do you know that you can study even here when you study a degree or master's, whatever, according to the current technology we have? Somebody said, actually, and I want to put this right, that globalization is not a means of transportation, but it is a means of shifting people from one place to another. That it becomes so essential that you go to Iran or to America, to EA, whatever, Yemen, to do a master's or a postgraduate degree. Globalization, rather, is a means of providing services to you where you are. A means of delivering those services to you from where you are.
Yeah, but I'm sure there are very many people who are doing. There are very many people who are doing that, but not everybody is going to do the same.
And why am I saying this? Because eventually we are not able. It's ideological, but we are not able to control the feelings and ideologies of different countries. For example, the current United States president. We don't have any control about his ideology, because, much as some of us may not agree with what he did, but we don't have any control about that. But I mean, what I'm saying is that such a thing can happen to us, even here, just as rightly noted. You have seen it can happen. There are countries like Somalia, or South Sudan, the Honorable was talking about, where democracy, because it was not propagated well and it was not preserved in a principled way, they degenerated into such chaos like we are seeing now. So what we need to do is to care about our own pot. care for the basket and the eggs. What do we need to do, Kamara, I said, maybe to draw you back, we need to have some sort of accountability in this country on the side of government, so that people will not reach that extent of going even to those dangerous places where we don't have any control over what they are doing. We need, like we had just recent
I think externalization of labor
Yes.
is a good thing. And for some people to go and study abroad and hone their skill and acquire new skill is also good.
Kabara, I'm saying, 80% of the Ugandans, by the way, we have some of the best universities in Africa and in the world. Do you know that? But 80% of the Ugandans who are going to these countries, either it's because of poverty, which is ideological, or it is economic. It is economic migration. They are looking for a living. They are going to these countries not to study for. In fact, they apply for visas in the name of study for masters and whatever. But they are not doing it. We have many people with PhDs and masters and graduates who are riding borders because of that.
But Kamara, some of these students are going there
Yes.
on scholarships, under bilateral arrangements.
Yeah.
Why does somebody go on scholarship? Because he's poor. He's not able to.
No.
Most of them. I mean,
no,
the biggest
no, that's out.
You
That's
see,
out.
Patrick,
That's out.
maybe
Completely.
I can raise this point of information to Mr. Simba. When I was doing a course in AI, which he did, most of the people we did with at Harvard, as some of us who got in scholarships, I mean, we could manage, we could afford. So it is not that when you are studying
you
in those...
could afford to get a scholarship?
No, like you could afford to pay for yourself.
Okay.
So it does not mean that even those people who are in Iran, Iraq, they can't afford. No.
Most of them are on scholarship.
No.
Free
Yes,
scholarship.
yes.
Islamic
But
scholarship.
not because they
That's
are
what I'm
poor.
saying.
There's something
It's-
wrong with that.
Not because they are
It's
poor.
not
They're not
wrong. People who apply for scholarship are economically unable.
No,
most
not
of
necessarily.
them. Most of them. Anyway,
No.
that's what.
Maybe-
but
maybe-
anyway, let me complete my statement.
Okay.
I was saying that because the country, our country, is exporting, you may call it export of labor, but I disagree with that because we need, most of these brains that are going there, we need them here more than they are needed that side. But because the systems are dead here, that's why people have to find those places.
Yes, there are some people who are
Yeah,
going to do
yeah.
professional jobs.
Yes.
And there are people who are going to
And
do
there are very
odd jobs.
few.
And those are going to do odd jobs.
But there are more.
Yes, and there are many.
Yes.
And I agree with you.
That's
There
right.
are people who have moved because
Most.
opportunities here are not
Yes,
here.
yes.
And so it's not that they have chosen to go and maybe be a maid in Saudi
Exactly,
Arabia or be a maid in
You
Jordan.
see,
Exactly.
Patrick,
Yes.
in exports, labor is part of a good you can export into other countries. And where there is, in most of these countries, there is what we call deficiency. To mitigate the deficiency, most countries have entered into what we call agreements, mutual recognition agreements. And those agreements, you find that, of course, as you rightly said, there are those people who go in disguise, that one, they're going to study, but they end up not studying. You see, that is defeating a system. So you can't hold the government because of your own misdeedings.
No. Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Champagne, we know there are people who have gone out, including my own relatives. It's not that they have really chosen to go there, but circumstances have forced
Exactly.
them to go because they have lacked opportunities in Uganda.
But
Some of them have lacked opportunities.
but-
Some of them even feel excluded.
But Patrick,
Exactly.
if you don't have an opportunity here, and this is an opportunity elsewhere, why don't you go for it?
Why is it lacking here? That's the basic problem.
But it's
Question.
not there.
Why should
We
it
can't
lack
have
here?
everything.
It's not there.
That's the
It's not
an
there.
ideological and
Eh?
it's a
So
systemic
the issue is,
problem.
We are
the issue
st-
as
we are
the
still-
government, as the
yes.
government is that you
You are not
expect
creating opportunities.
that you are going to create opportunities for the young Ugandans.
As a government,
But can I say this?
400,000 people who graduate every year.
But
We-
can
yeah,
I say
exactly.
this?
Absorbed.
Look at the army going to AMISOM. If all these army were in this country, they wake up, sleep, but they are earning peanuts, will the country or us be happy as Ugandans? They go to Somalia, earn money, send it home, build houses, empower their families, and they are okay. So let us not use a system, even in America. When you go to America, the most people who are working in American farms are not Americans. They're migrants. So it is not only in Uganda that export of labor is happening. Even in the first world countries.
I don't know whether you listen to say that export of labor is a good thing.
Yeah.
But there are some people who would rather could have stayed here
but
if you had invested in Uganda and create opportunities here and build Uganda.
Kamara, we are creating opportunities.
Okay.
That's why we are put in place policies to attract investors. We have an industrial park coming up in Mbale. It is now employing very many people. Kapeka is employing very many people. Namamve is also employing very many people, and we are going to set up more industries.
Even in Insha.
But even those opportunities are not yet enough. And therefore, if our people can get opportunities out of the country, I don't see why they shouldn't go there. I think what we should do, Kamara, is one thing. We should go into mutual agreements, just as Cohen has said. Because some of the countries like Kenya, they have really institutionalized this type of export. Let's go into mutual understandings, mutual contracts, bilateral agreements with those governments, so that they can be paid well. You are getting
and even they can
because
be
when you look at the Pakistanis, the Filipinos, say in the United Arab Emirates, they are paid well, and yet they have the same qualifications like Ugandans. I think that's where we should go, to see how, as government, we should negotiate with those countries, so that when our people live here, they get better conditions, other than leaving the work to only labor, these labor companies.
Mr. Simba.
Kamara, if I'm to say, Honorable, thank you. If what the Honorable member is saying is just a way of running away from the responsibility, which is an obligation to government, that the government and the president always swears to uphold and provide the welfare of the citizens, to care for it, to cater for it. There is no single need for anybody who is duly employed here, well paid, that will think even about going to another country. If I can take the example of the industries in Namibia, for example, how much are they paying those workers? Sometimes they pay them 3,000 a day. I'm telling you, the majority of those who are working there.
They're being exploited?
Yeah, exploited. And there is no law. The government has refused to talk about the minimum wage.
Don't believe in that.
So the government, the Honorable Member talked about the issue of the Amazon, the ones who are going to Somalia. What takes them there in the first place? First of all, the chaos that was fomented there in Somalia is also brewing here. Because according to the history in Somalia, how it degenerated to that, to need the foreign intervention, there was a president who was called Ali Shamakeh, Muhammad Ali Shamakeh, who was assassinated because he had overstayed in what? In power. Then there was a revolution after him. A man called Bekele, Gideon Bekele, who was a colonel. And then this one who died recently, Siad Barre. The other one ruled for only 2 days, and he was, because he used an uprising, and then he replaced him. And Siad Barre also did the same thing. What President Museveni is doing here, that's what caused the chaos.
Maybe what you should do, there was a time when the Federal Republic of Somalia was calling Uganda and Tanzania would go to Mogadishu to mediate us.
Yes.
So
as if there was semblance of peace.
Because they're okay.
Yes.
When we're having issues with Tanzania,
exactly,
Mogadishu would sit us down and say, guys, you don't need to.
That was General Bari, not
yes,
so.
Yeah, that's what
but because of doing the same thing that President Museveni is negating on the issues, the principles of
President
democracy.
Museveni has not reached those levels of Said Bari.
Just a moment. Just a moment.
That's out.
The principles of democracy include among them, first, the minority, not just majority rule that I win elections, I win. First of all, you should care about the minority rights and the consent. In case you just ignore those things, however much as you may think there is peace or a semblance of peace,
but there was
the country
Simba, there
is
was
going to generate
there was
chaos.
all these election observers, the international community.
What did what was
Kamara,
what did they say?
Let Simba not derail us. You yourself, you have said you went for elections to participate, not to win.
It is true.
Yeah?
But this is Kamara, just I need your protection. When you go into an election, which you know that the conditions are not favoring you, are you hearing me? The right thing to do, this is what I was talking about, accountability, is to go to court to stop the election so that the court can guide. That's what we're seeking from court. Because we're sensing that the conditions were not free and fair. And then we were arrested. That's the condition under which we are operating.
And then the case was withdrawn.
Not withdrawn. The case which we put there as CP is still there, but it was ignored. What we were seeking, the interpretation of court about tallying, because we saw
Kamara,
that tallying process was not free.
Is an office of court.
Yes. You see, we can't be debating a matter that is in court.
It is not in court in the sense that it has not been given a hearing.
No, it is already in court. Whether it has not been given a hearing, there is no determination of it. We only debate on the determinations of the court. And as you are saying, the information...
So you think this could be because of sub judice issues?
Yes, sub judice rules. Let's avoid it. You are a litigant in that case. I think we can just leave it to that extent.
Okay.
But what we can only discuss, and this is on a point, is that one, someone being part of the process, then at the tail end, when the process doesn't favor you, you lose.
So
then you come to complain to the public.
Mr. Simba, one at a time.
You're like, look, I was part of this process.
One at a time, Mr. Simba.
However, I wanted to prove a point. So you were not in an election to win. You were in an election as an observer, maybe, because you were not a participant. And he has rightly said it here. So, if the president, I never saw Mabirizi in my home district campaigning.
That's a different Mabirizi.
Yes, no, Mabirizi, the president, the presidential candidate.
Of the CP.
Of the CP. I never saw your presidential candidate in my home area. Maybe resources never allowed, or maybe, it can happen. But what I'm trying to say is very simple, is that, yes, you participated in an electoral process. We thank you for that. Because some of these issues maybe you are bringing up, it's high time that we reconsider looking at what needs to be done. Because as an election being a process, not a one-day event, can we look at this process? Because you don't expect that at the tail end you are cooking matoke and nuts, then you expect that at the table to find the meat. Why am I saying so? Is that let us be part of this the cooking process. Let us be part knowing about, for example, public participation in the electoral laws. There are some people who went on the day of voting, they were saying, oh, I'm supposed to be voting here. But the system has taken me somewhere. And yet the Electoral Commission displayed the registers and called for members of the public to come and cross-check. Some of the things that are happening, and this one, Kamara, we should tie it with where most people are trying to beat the system. When you are trying to export labor out of the country at the point we are on, someone disguises that I'm going to study, but when he reaches in that country, he's not studying, he's beating the system. We have to be honest with each other that the government does not work in vacuum. The government works through systems.
Okay.
The government works through us. So if us we are the problem, the government will have also will be a problem.
Okay. I just want to change gears and look into where you need to invest now that the budget process is on, so that you can, deploy money or in an area that is going to make the economy work, so that Ugandans can find opportunities, that you invest in ventures that can create opportunities and unemployment. Honorable Kabyanga, what will it look like?
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think right now we need to invest more in sectors which will bring more jobs, and this will be in industrialization and more especially in agro-processing, because Uganda being an agricultural country, I think there we shall have an edge over any other country. And then we also need to invest in mining. And for agro-processing, what we need now is to put more money in UDP, and that's what the president is trying to do, so that investors, and mainly local investors, can get credit, which is a bit cheap. And
but is UDP really for everyday peasant Ugandan?
No. Now I'm saying, for instance, UDP. There are other facilities like ACF in commercial banks.
Agricultural credit facility.
Agricultural credit facility in commercial bank is there.
There is even the one on irrigation.
Exactly. Now the local people, the very local person, now we have created parish development model where they can go and borrow money to invest in agriculture, because if we invest in agro-processing, we should have products to process. But we also need to revive our mining industry seriously. I told you the other time that Krembe mines, for instance, used to employ 5,000 people. 5,000, and people would come from as far as Kabarole to come and work in Krembe. And towards
even out of the country, Kenya.
And out of the country, even South Africans came, Pakistanis came. If you went to Krembe, you saw how the housing estates were. There was a place for Pakistanis, for Indians, for Bazungu, and for Africans.
I know, most of...
So if we can revive Krembe mines itself, and I'm happy that now we have a core investor, Sarai, but it needs to be assisted by government to really
there have
revive
been
the
many
mine.
people who have given it a try.
Yes, they
end up failing.
They have given it a trial, but I think we have not yet got really a serious core investor. But now Sarai is already in Hima Cement doing work, and I strongly believe because of that proximity is going to do much more work. And that one, if we can revive it, it will employ about 5,000 people again in the next 3 years. So we shall have a lot of jobs there. We also need to create incentives, for more incentives for
you're talking about the tax waivers and things like that?
Also tax waivers
holidays
is part of the incentives, so that we can get more foreign investment here coming to Uganda. And with that, if we can really invest in the industry, we invest in mining, we invest in agro-processing, and then we also invest in agriculture and see how we can improve production and productivity, I think we shall create more jobs. And me, that's where I think we should really go.
Yes.
Thank you, Kamara. With all due respect, I don't want to lose track of reason, but the emphasis on job creation, the way it has been done by our dear president, is commendable, though still questionable, because it is not enough to talk about we are creating these jobs, we are going to, there is power, we are going to call in investors. The system under which these services are provided is fundamental and essentially attached to either the success or the failure of all these programs, including corruption, job creation, and even production, like you saw in the Chirembe mines saga issue. The system, if the system is wrong, a bad system creates a bad system corrupts even the good people. But a good system corrects even the bad people. And that's what the president and these people in government are failing to understand, that the system under which they are providing these services to the people is wrong. Fundamentally. That's why they are failing to fight corruption. That's why they are failing to provide jobs and create more jobs for the youth who are running to Saudi Arabia and all these countries. What is the right system to do which would bring success, top-notch success this country has not seen before? The federal setting, the federal system where there is division, not just of resources, but you divide and share responsibilities with the regional governments, so that you are not spending all the money on security and into the central government. This is where the problem comes. Because our government is saying we are creating jobs, but for who? Just for a few people. If you go in most of these top ministries and these organizations and authorities, you find people, you know the kind of people you'll find. But we need not to forget some other tribes and those which have been marginalized communities through the federal setting. Otherwise, we shall say we have created these kind of jobs, but it will be for certain people. Even just joining the army, you can't just join the army and you are in those elite forces. In Uganda today, if you are not known by the people in power, you can't. So that's why we need the federal setting, whereby even much as you are talking about providing jobs, when these jobs are created, they will be equally shared in these regions, the regions of Uganda. That's why we are emphasizing that the system under which you are providing these services matter more, even equally important, and it is attached to the services or the success of these services or the failure. And in the past 40 years, they have failed to fight corruption because of the system. They have failed to fight to provide the jobs because of the system.
When you talked about the army and then
yes.
back, I saw General Katumba
yes.
was from the
central. Do you have any?
I saw Jejo Dong was from the east.
You say what? That is in the past tense. How many generals do you have from the east, the north? For example,
Kamara.
Do you have any general who is a Karamajong?
Kamara.
Do you have any general who is a Karamajong? Kamara. I'm asking a simple question.
Yes,
a general who is a Karamajong?
They are there.
Yes,
you think there are no Karamajong?
Maybe Kamara. What
now,
so
Kamara,
the issue of the system
I think
is
now
very
we are
important.
going very petty.
Not petty.
Yeah, let me tell you, Simba.
Federal
System is not anywhere immune to corruption. There are so many countries. There are so many countries. Simba, when you are talking, we are keeping quiet. Can you please give us time to also answer you? Federal system is not also immune to corruption.
How?
Because there are some countries which
are corrupt,
practicing federal system, like in Nigeria.
You're fired.
Nigeria is operating a federal system, but is it immune to corruption? So I think corruption can be in any system.
Can it be?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can.
Kamara, let me say
Simba, let us first finish.
Okay, you finish.
Because if you think you're going to dominate, we're not going to allow you. Exactly. Even in a federal system, there can be what? Corruption. The most important thing is to have institutions which can fight what? Corruption. And it's not only, not all successful countries have gone federal. For like you, if you are CP and you are preaching federal, that is your ideology.
Yes.
you go with it.
Yes.
And you have sold it to the population for so many years. The population has failed to do
Maybe
what? To
Kamara
buy
can
that
say something.
system.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You talked about the Karamajongo general. There's a very, very courageous general called Brigadier General Lakara.
Brigadier.
Yeah, he's
General, he's a general.
He's a general.
Maybe
one.
I want to say this, Kamara. Can I say this? Federal government, which my colleague here, my friend, keeps on talking,
Yes.
is just a division of units between the central government or the national government and the smaller units.
What did you say? Repeat that.
Now, is the federal government, they want to look at Nigeria. Even in the federal states of Nigeria, corruption is there.
Okay.
You see, the following,
Can you give?
Okay,
You wait.
I'm going to
That
give each
was
one of
a-
you,
yes,
each one of
Kamara.
you, yeah, wait. I'm going to give each one of you a minute to make, because we are coming to the end of our show, to give your concluding remarks. Let me begin with you, Simba, your parting shot.
Probably they cut me short, but I want to say that we still emphasize that the system under which the government of President Yoweri Museveni is providing all the services to the people is wrong, is ideologically disoriented.
Okay.
That's why for the past 40 years, he has failed to fight corruption. And when I talk about that, they rise up. But corruption is not entirely wrong. It's not bad. If your father steals money and brings home to buy for you meat, do you say stop, and he pays for your school fees? Do you say that? Do you say he's done? Okay, you will say he's done a bad thing, but will you complain like the one who has been stolen? No, because you are sharing, you are part of the corruption. That's what I'm saying. If you go to some of these universities in Uganda, they are filled with people from Western Uganda now, all the universities in Uganda, because essentially, the people from the East, I'm sure about what I'm talking about, the students, because these other communities are not able to take their children to what? To school, to those schools. That's what am I saying? If this corruption was equally distributed, like it was during Bote's time.
There was corruption equally.
Yes, equally distributed. It would be fair that somebody from the north or from the east.
For you want equal distribution of corruption.
Exactly. Corruption, he says, as he says, it cannot be fought.
Okay.
But it should be distributed equally so that everyone benefits from that corruption. Okay? Wow. And finally, anyway, let me say this.
That's a very new concept.
I'm just answering him. Finally, I wanted to go back to what he said. The Honorable Minister, the new elected MP, said there is no federalism in our Constitution. Our Constitution, Article 178, talks about the regional tier government, which provides for a regional government. That's what we call about federal. Regional government.
Okay, yeah.
And these regional governments share power with the central government. If we just continue or stick with the unitary system of NRM, it's just alienating all other regions.
You have made your point.
They are not benefiting from the corruption.
Thank you, Alicia. You've made your point. And Mr. Champagne, your parting shot.
Thank you. I think it's quite astonishing to find that a member can make disparaging remarks. This government has tried to balance on the national cake. Look at our institutions, it's well balanced. You know, you see, when you want to critique the government, there are some of the things that at least you need to appreciate. That's number one. Secondly, when we talk about federal government,
if you are benefiting,
number one,
you appreciate.
Mr. Simba,
you
should
benefit,
realize that when you're making your submission, those gentlemen were quiet.
Where is that?
So when we're talking about in the Constitution, and I will say this, it's not about federalism that is in the Constitution. What is in the Constitution is a decentralization.
Regional government.
No, let us not write people. We moved away in 1996, my brother.
Given an opportunity to make your concluding remarks.
But you are also lying.
He's lying.
Let him conclude. One at a time, gentlemen.
Yes. We cannot go. I was part of the. I practiced in Kenya for the longest time. And I know devolution. What he's trying to tell us is the devolving units. Because in decentralization is that you look at, for example, you get health and security, decentralize it to the last person, create another government, county government or districts or regional governments that have their own governments. You see, you are just decentralizing corruption. That's what.
All
so
right.
the only thing that what the president has done, and as Ugandans where we feel proud, is three things. One is on what we call strengthening the institutions of government. That in Uganda, you know that elections will be conducted. We have countries that don't conduct elections. In Uganda, you know that a chief justice will be looked at. The chief justice will be there as head of judiciary and executive. Now, the second limb is that there is peace and security. You are guaranteed. There is freedom. There are rights. We might not agree with the government that there are some of the rights that have been violated. But the government, 98%, what the government has done is to preserve our rights. Even to reach here and sit here, critique the government and tell the government, here you did wrong. That's also part of what the government has done.
All right.
That we have a freedom of press, we have freedom of religion, we can go to where we want to go.
Have the Honorable Minister make the Honorable
So
Minister.
as I wind up, I want to thank NTV. Let us not always, when we come, or maybe we are given a chance, let us also show the people what the government has done. We have new roads that are coming up. We have exploration oil that is coming up. We have schools that are doing well. We have sports. So there are many things that are not being told what the government has done.
But to be fair, Cohen and Godfrey, we have two of you from the government that you so much serve and love, and you have the platform. So why not speak for it? This is what we do at NTV. We have two of you to speak for the same.
And that's what I've done.
So yeah,
And that's what I've done.
Godfrey, you are parting shots.
I think, Patrick, you have given us platforms, but today we didn't come to discuss how we have implemented our manifesto and how far we have gone. We came here to discuss governance issues. Next time you bring us here, exactly. But what I would like to say is, I didn't know that actually why CP wants federalism is that they want to distribute corruption.
You say, it cannot be fought. That's why I said.
No.
You said it can't be fought. It is everywhere.
When you were talking, I kept quiet.
No, I don't want you to mislead the public.
No. But
I don't want
you
to
were also misleading the public here, and I kept quiet.
You said the corruption cannot be fought.
I told you. I told you.
Let's distribute
if you want to learn the rule of engagement here is one at a time.
That's why they failed in elections, because they don't know the rule of engagement.
It's not that he agreed with you when you're talking.
Exactly. Not at all. Because you yourself, he said that the medicine to corruption was federalism. And I told him, no, federalism is not also immune to corruption. I think those are the words I used. It's not immune to corruption. That there can be corruption in federalism. And I gave you an example of Nigeria. There's a lot of corruption in Nigeria, and yet they are practicing what? Federalism. And what can cure corruption is putting in place very strong what? Institutions. Very strong institutions.
Why haven't you done it?
Please. You will wait till your government comes. But for us in our government, we are putting in place Simba.
You say it. Just do it. Don't say do it. Put in place those institutions.
That's not how we're going to do it.
Now,
okay.
Simba, we have put in place several institutions. There is IGG, we have State House Anti-Corruption Unit, and there are so many people being arrested for corruption. And that's the only way we can fight it.
Thank you.
But for CP, you wait till your government comes. We shall also look, if it will ever come. But what I want to tell Ugandans is, we are all Ugandans. Let us try to see how we can improve this economy so that we create more what? More jobs. And it will need a concerted what? Effort. to do it. It will not be a one person's effort. It will need a concerted effort.
All right.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance. Thank you so much, Mr. Elisha Simba from the Conservative Party. And thank you, MP-elect for Igara West, the Honorable Cohen Champene. I know Uganda is a good country. I know Ugandans are good people. And me, I'm eternally optimistic that as a people, we shall get there.